I can't hear you. Oops, I was muted and I was wondering what's going on. How is it now? Can you guys hear me? So once again, welcome to tonight's intro call on manipulation in relationships. And I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for confirming. And yeah, manipulation is a very interesting topic. And this call was inspired by someone I was facilitating in a private session. And the moment I mentioned the word manipulation to create greater for themselves, there was this just look of, really, can I do that? And that is also one of the things that I feel a lot of us go into when someone tells us, hey, you know what, you can manipulate this situation. And or maybe we don't even talk about it. It's just that we make the word manipulation so wrong. So, oh, I don't want to be a manipulator because that is being bad, bitchy, mean. Because I think a lot of us, particularly in India, associate manipulation to all of those Saas Bahu dramas that we've been watching. And very recently, somebody was telling me, I met a couple of my school friends who were telling me it's still on or something like that is on. Not that particular one, but the manipulation thing still goes on as part of the soap operas in Indian television. Is that right? I'm not sure. But if they're saying it would be because that sells. So interestingly, now I'm wondering, it sells. People love to watch it, but they don't want to be it. Now, Access has taught me, and it must have taught you too, if you have done even a few Access classes, that any energy that you're not willing to be is something that controls you. Like people will come and manipulate you and go if you're not willing to be a manipulator. So first of all the points of views that you have about manipulation, would you kindly please look at them and let them go? And we have this amazing clearing statement in Access Consciousness, which is right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, online shorts, boys, forwards, and beyonds, which when you run, clears off your points of views about anything. Right now, we're talking about manipulation. So when we say all of that, all the points of views you have about manipulation, if you're willing to let them go, and I'm hoping you're willing to let them go because you're here today and you're watching this and you're continuing to watch it, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Okay, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, online shorts, boys, forwards, and beyonds. Now, in relationships, let me just talk about how manipulation can also be a creative energy. Now, in this reality, we do relationship from the point of view of either giving up ourselves to fit into the other person's world. And again, where there are joint families involved, where there are bigger families involved, it's so much that you want to cut off parts and pieces of yourself to fit into everybody's world. At least I tried to do that when I got married. And how long does that work? I mean, yeah, if you're married or you've seen some marriages at home, you would know how long that works. Not very long. Now, manipulation, so that's relationship when we start to actually cut off parts and pieces of ourselves and we create this distance between us and our true selves. And that is how it is defined in this reality as a relationship. Like if you've read a little bit of science, relationship is defined as the distance between two objects. And usually the two objects become you and you. And also they could become you and your partner, because if the same thing is happening with the other person as well, you're giving up parts and pieces of you to fit into their world, fit into his or her world, and vice versa. They're doing the same thing. Then ultimately what happens is neither of you find any of you in that relationship, and woo, you've succeeded, you've created a relationship. There's great distance between both of you. Have you noticed after a few years of doing relationship, people are like, hey, you're not what I thought you were, and you're not what I fell in love with. And I don't want to stay with you. And you're like, I don't want to stay with you. That's what happens. Now, when we talk of creationship instead of relationship, there is this energy of two people creating together rather than judging each other, rather than pushing each other away, rather than making one right, making the other wrong, mostly them wrong and you right, then you right and them wrong. And again, it's just this constant tussle and struggle of judgment, distancing, more relationship. Now, instead of relationship, what if you started looking at creationship? What if you started looking at, okay, cool. What questions can I ask here that would open up possibilities for both of us? Where you're making yourself the source of a creation or creations, maybe multiple creations that can now show up because both of you are together. And that's a very different energy. But can that actually actualize, materialize, if you're not willing to manipulate? Now, what is manipulation? So, what if manipulation is just a skillful use of energy, a skillful use of your capacities, your potencies, where you don't have to make you right. You don't have to make them wrong. You don't have to make you wrong or them right. It does not have to be from right and wrong. It does not have to be from judgment. Where there is a constant energy supply of creating something greater, where there is this constant energy of expansion where you both want to be together. You don't want to run away from each other. Right? Now, this can be with your partner, this can be with your children, this can be with your friends, with whoever. But if you're not willing to manipulate, for example, someone might have a point of view of, hey, you know what? We're in a relationship together. I don't think you should do that. That's how a cool romantic relationship begins. Oh, I love this person and they don't want me to go out party with my friends. They don't want me to stay out late in the night. They don't want me to drink. So I'm just going to give all of this up for this rosy romantic relationship. Now, okay, but I want to go party. I want to do these things that maybe my partner doesn't want me to do. Now, am I willing to manipulate the situation in a way that I get to do what I want to do, the other person gets to do what they want to do, and together, because now we're both happy doing what we want to do, creating our lives, contributing to each other, not making each other wrong, can actually create greater. And that, my friends, would be true manipulation, according to me. But if you have a point of view that manipulation is wrong, then two things happen. One, the other person will manipulate you, like we were talking about in the soap operas, in the South Pole series. You will not even see it till much later. And you go, oh my God, they did this to me. And I couldn't even see it. I was so dumb. I was so stupid. No, you were not. You were just making the energy of manipulation wrong. And that's why you just put on blinders. Oh, this energy is bad. This energy is mean. It's vicious. I'm not going to see it. I'm never going to do that. And you couldn't see when someone came and manipulated you. And whoa, some possibilities, some receiving got cut off from your life. Right? Now, the other thing that happens is if you don't use the energy of manipulation to your advantage. Now, notice in your relationship, are you the leader? Are you the one that, if you're listening to this, and probably you are the one, are you the one that's making different choices? Are you the one that can see possibilities that maybe your partner or the person you're talking about, that you're in relationship with, cannot see? So who's the leader? Who's asking questions? Who's creating more possibilities? Who has more of a future vision of what can show up as your life together? Now, if the other person is not ready for it, they can manipulate you or they can pull you down, and you can sit back and say, you know what, they never let me do this and I'm the victim and this always happens to me. Or you can manipulate the situation into something greater. I'm sorry, the electricity just went off, I think, but I hope you guys can hear me okay. Only a little dull, but trust me, I'm not dull from inside. I'm all bright and shiny still. So you can then manipulate the situation so that nobody pulls you down, and you can pull the other person up with you if they are ready to receive it. Does that make sense? So that, my friends, is what this call is going to be about. And this is a little intro of the call on manipulation that we're going to be having on the 14th of April. That's day after tomorrow. And we're going to be using some fun tools from Access to learn how not to make the energy of manipulation wrong, how we can use the energy of manipulation to acknowledge that we are the sources of creation in our lives, in our relationships, and how my life and my relationship is showing up is on me. I can conveniently keep blaming the other person, but well, what is that creating anyway? Blaming, judging, more distance. So you're warmly invited to this call. And do you have any questions? I can take questions now. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to be putting the call joining link here, as well as on the Facebook group Showing Up As You, where this call is already live streaming. So you have it handy so that you can sign up right away if this is making sense to you and if this is an energy that you would like to use to your advantage. So anyone have any questions? Anyone has any questions? No question? No one wants to manipulate me into giving you some more information? No? No. Okay. Okay. I think I have a question here on the chat. I'm just going to take that up. So Gurjeet says, just realize that the first level of manipulation happens with our parents. And by the time realization comes that it's manipulation happening, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. All right. So where is that coming from? What if you could just look at, is there a question there, or is that more of just a conclusion, Gurjeet? That, oh, water has passed under the bridge. What does that mean? Can you still do something about it? Can you still change the situation? Or have you decided there's nothing you can do about it? And that is also one of the places where we do not allow ourselves the space to ask a question. Okay, what can change here? What else is possible here? What can I be and do here that would change this? See, so what if you did not decide there and there was light, you see? Suddenly there's electricity all over again. So if you do not decide, anything in your life has come to a standstill, or that the water has passed under the bridge, or there is nothing you can do about it, then, well, it can change. So question. Yes, Naira, please go ahead, ask your question.
So I'm fairly new to Access, so I'm still sort of finding my way around. But what happens when, let's see if I can put this correctly, I'm still struggling between judgment and awareness. But in that, where does manipulation play and how does one deal with it? You could judge someone, or you say, okay, I'm aware of this and I will not try and judge. But then when you're manipulating, is that coming from awareness or is that coming from judgment?
Right, great question. So, all right. The first part of your question was you cannot differentiate between judgment and awareness, right?
Yeah.
Judgment will always seem restrictive, like this comment here by Gurjeet. She said, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. Now, what would you say? Is that a judgment, or is that, and I would say, let's talk about first, is that a conclusion or is that a question? Can you get that?
I guess.
It's
yeah,
a conclusion. Because,
yeah,
absolutely, because there's no question there. Now, a conclusion is more often than not a judgment.
Okay.
Right? And that is one way that you can distinguish between a judgment and awareness. Now, the other way you can judge between, sometimes we ask questions like, oh, you go, nothing's changing. So really, can I change it? You see, you've already decided nothing's changing. And then you're asking a question on, really, is it going to change? Oh, you get, okay, cool. I see this is not working for me. I see there's something going on here that's not kind to me, or someone's trying to manipulate me. Cool. Now, how can I change this? So awareness comes in as an expansiveness. You'll be aware of something, but the moment you apply your mind to it, the moment you've applied a point of view to it, it very quickly becomes a judgment and a conclusion if you're not present.
Mhm.
The moment you start feeling heavy, the moment you start feeling like a conclusion, closed, the awareness has gone away. So the first thing that comes to you is always awareness.
Right.
So when you're aware, you know this is what's happening. Like you might have noticed situations where you weren't really involved in it, and then you could see something was happening. So you could
Mm.
go, all right, cool. Something's happening here. Wow, wonder what else is possible. Wonder what it would take for this to change. And you would probably have noticed it with relatives, friends, people in society, because you weren't involved. And when it comes to us, we kind of forget to ask a question. We say, oh my God, this person's doing this to me, and I'm doing this. And there's this whole new conversation of the need to react to a situation, which immediately takes you to a conclusion.
Mhm.
So I hope I've answered the first part of your question, where you can differentiate between judgment and awareness. And after that, you can just sense manipulation as an energy when someone's doing it to you, or learn to manipulate the situation in a way that creates greater, not only for you, but for those other people also, no matter how mean or vicious or bad or evil they might be. Doesn't matter.
Right.
The question is, are you willing to change it? Are you willing to manipulate for greater consciousness, for greater possibilities? And that's what we're going to be talking about on the call. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. So if you would say that to create greater, you just let the person be, would that be creating greater, for instance?
If you are doing it from a space of allowance and interesting point of view, hey, you want to do that, go ahead, do that. Doesn't work for me, don't do it around me. And that's allowance.
Mm. Okay.
And that could create more awareness
Okay.
if you're not reacting. But the moment
Yeah.
you're not reacting, you've just gone to a conclusion. You've gone to
Okay.
judgment.
Okay.
Does that help?
Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Thank you for your question. Anyone else have any other questions? Does anyone else have any other questions on this? No. So I was just listening to a very interesting conversation. I was listening to the replay of the Global Foundation by Gary and Dane, the one that just happened in March, and the way these presumptive realities and the norms, the need for reactive realities, is changing the energy of anything that's stuck in your life is amazing. And there are all of these presumptive realities we have about ourselves, where we make ourselves the victim in a relationship, or the one that cannot choose, or the one that people are doing stuff to. And you see, just like we were having this conversation right now about, if I've already presumed that I'm the victim, if I've already presumed that people are going to do this to me, if I've already presumed I can't change anything or I can't do anything, that's exactly what starts to show up in your relationship too. And that is why we say that your point of view creates your reality. Or rather, because your point of view creates your reality, that's exactly what starts to show up. You believe you're the victim, victimhood shows up. You believe everybody is doing stuff to you, that's exactly what shows up. So what will it take, guys, for us to choose greater in our relationships? What will it take for us to trust ourselves? Great questions to ask. What will it take for me to trust me? What will it take for me to change a situation so that it turns out way greater for everyone, myself included, other people included, far greater than I ever thought possible? So those are the spaces where, when you begin to destroy and uncreate the need to react to something, or all the presumptions you have about something, you begin to start to create these creationships, where it's fun to be around each other, where it's a contribution to be, whether it's your parents, guys, even if it's your parents. And literally running these has changed so much for me. I am so grateful to Access. I've just been destroying and creating my PRs and NORs so much, so that things around my relationships, not only with my husband, my children, even my parents, has changed so much. I'm right now, in fact, at my parents' place. And in a very long time, I haven't spent more than a week here. And this time I've spent 14 days, which has been such a contribution to all of us. I can't reiterate enough how much is changing, how quickly. So if any of this conversation tugs at you, if any of this feels light in your world, I will once again warmly invite you to this call that we're having day after tomorrow. We begin at 7:45 p.m. and we'll go on between an hour and a half to 2 hours, whatever it takes, depending on the energy of the call. I have no idea how long we'll go. It all depends on your questions and how far we can go, but we will be clearing a lot of stuff. We will be taking a lot of questions. We will be talking a lot of creationships. And again, whether you're married or not, whether you choose to marry or not, we live in a world where relationship is really crucial. And if you can't do relationship, you're judged, you're wronged, you're made whatever, judged. So just an invitation to you. And if it seems light, the link is here, right here in the chat. It'll also be in the replay on the Facebook page. If you're not on the Facebook page, please reach out to me or to Gurjeet or to Manisha. We will share the link to my Facebook page and the WhatsApp group where we're talking about conversations, relationships, where we're having conversations on relationships. So thank you very much. I will take your leave now. Very grateful for all of you being here. And I hope you create greater wherever you are, whatever you're choosing, with everything you touch.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Shweta. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.